Hey there, guys! I want to talk about a card from Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, of all things, this late into the year, but I feel like this card kind of slipped the radar for a lot of people. Slovak's Tome, or Slovak's Tome, however you meant to pronounce it, I'm not sure. Whatever, does not matter that much. The main importance of this is that I do think that this was overlooked a bit and whatnot when it came out, but now it's been out for a little while. I suddenly went back through this set and was looking for some decent utility cards to put in a deck, and I just so happened to find this, and it really caught my eye this time because I actually had time to sort of be digesting different things and whatnot. So I thought that this is a really useful card. So first, it gives you the initiative for 4 mana, which is pretty good. And the initiative does a whole bunch of different things. If you're not familiar with an initiative, first room, you get a basic land card, put it to your hand. Then you can put 2 counters on a creature or scry 2. You can make target player lose 5 life. You can go to creature. You can create a treasure token. You can draw a card, or you can make a 4/1 skeleton token with menace. And then you get the big one, which is reveal the top 10 cards of your library. You put a creature card from among them on the battlefield and put 3+1 counters on it. It gains hexproof until your next turn, and then you shuffle. So the Undercity does a whole lot of good stuff. The best ones are usually Scry, draw a card, and obviously the last one. But the basic land one, you always get first off the bat, which is okay as well. Getting that card advantage is nice. The Goad creature one, I don't think that's too amazing, but often you have to sort of take that one to get the draw card unless you want to put 2 counters on a creature. Sometimes that's not too bad, but whatever, that's fine. We'll get back to this and we'll talk about this a bit more. So we tap it to add colors. If we have the initiative, we add double colors instead. So alrighty, like initially when we get it for the first turn, it is essentially Hedron Archive, but it's already kind of drawn us a card without us having to sacrifice it. And that's what Hedron Archive does when we sacrifice it by paying 2 mana. So already for 4 mana, it's already drawn us a card and is giving us 2 extra mana. Yes, that card that we're drawing is a land card, but when we're in these colors, or when we're in colors that want a card like this, we're not in green. And we want lands to be coming to our hands so that we can make sure we're hitting our land drops, especially if we haven't played a land for turn. That's really good. Or if we've got some way to play extra lands or whatever, something like that, that's really good as well. But anyway, it's still pretty irrelevant for the most part. It's still all right. We get that for that turn. And then we can pay 3 mana, exile cards from the top of our library to exile a non-land card, and we may cast that card without paying its mana cost, but only if we've completed the dungeon. And completing the dungeon with the Undercity is very easy because, again, you can essentially steal it from your opponents when you hit them, and whatnot. And it's only 5 rooms in that dungeon, so you only have to get through 5 things, and that happens relatively quickly in games of Commander and whatnot, because you can steal it every turn, or you can have things that say venture into the Undercity and take the initiative or whatever, or venture into the dungeon and other things like that. You don't have to be very heavily built around it because of that multiplayer-esque formatting of this effect. And I think it's a very decent effect. Now, that means that this card doesn't have to be sacrificed for you to get extra card advantage out of it. Yes, you will exile some cards that you perhaps don't want to exile, like lands, but then again, late game, you don't really want lands anyway, especially if you're stuck top decking or whatnot. So you really want gas. So any way to get extra gas is just good. and you get to play any of these cards without paying their mana cost. So you get any card for essentially, well, 4 mana, let's say, roughly speaking, at bare minimum. So that's a really, really good effect. Yes, sometimes you'll get to pay 4 mana for a random 1 or 2 drop or whatever it is. But, if your curve is, a little bit higher on average, which, in a lot of the more casual games it is, which is where I think a card like this would actually see play. It's not going to see him play in CDH metagames or whatnot. You're probably going to hit something fairly good most of the time and get something pretty decent out of it. So I do think that this is a great card and shouldn't have been overlooked. I certainly overlooked it, but yes, certainly shouldn't be overlooked anymore. And that's why I've brought this to you to say, hey, play this card a bit more. I'm actually going to show you how many it's played in EDH. So it's in over 3,000 decks, which is okay, I guess, but that's still 0% of the 7,000 or 700 million, or 7 million, is it? What? Yeah, 7 million decks that it could go in. But a lot of decks that are out there in green, it probably wouldn't go in, just due to the fact that it's probably not that good, and certainly CDH decks and whatnot, certainly not good enough to go into those decks. So that does count for a lot of those decks as well. But again, it should see way more play than just 3,000 something, 300 decks. Yeah, this is a really great card that you should try to pick up and use in your decks if you are looking for ramp and some card advantage and card selection. But you guys can let me know what you guys think about this card. Write your thoughts down there in the comments below. I'll be sure to respond. And I hope to see you again in the next one. If you're enjoying the content here, you can join the Squirrel Army by subscribing and turning on the notifications.